This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Aristotle created a principle by which he evaluated actions and characters. The doctrine of the golden mean is a request for a realistic moral axiom. It asserts that one cannot respond to evil with evil, but in real life, patience sooner or later comes to an end. So, there is a demand for more realistic moral axioms, such as the Aristotelian doctrine. The golden mean rule does not always apply because the concept of virtue can be perceived ambiguously in some cases. The golden mean in Aristotle's Ethics points to the triumph of virtue and right action. According to him, goodness is associated with a reasonable choice between two vices, one with an excess of something and the other with a lack of something. It is the middle that counts, for extremes exhaust themselves, which is true of human passions and actions. Virtue does not reject the opposites but embraces them equally, being at an equal distance from each of them. Virtue is always between the extremes of something, and reason rules the path choice. For example, courage is neither recklessness, an excess of courage, nor timidity, a lack of courage. The ideal of the golden mean suggests that a virtuous person acts reasonably, choosing the right cause for action, avoiding unnecessary actions, and entering into relationships with those who are needed. Virtue is a moral concept that guides the forms of subjective assimilation of moral values. The term virtue indicates a peculiar integral quality of a person, which is the moral goal of a person or a separate property of a person, without which she cannot be considered morally perfect. It is no coincidence that Aristotle, who created the complete concept of virtues in antiquity, affirmed that virtue leads to perfection, the virtue of which it is. The word virtue is used in some cases to denote a personal quality and, in others, as a generalized indicator of character. The word virtue can also be given the personal meaning of moral quality. Few want to please anyone when injustice, stratification into rich and poor, and religious and national contradictions flourish. The golden rule goes deeper than that. Understanding its essence benefits the individual. The principle makes it possible to build successful personal and business relationships and not have problems with the law. The observance of the golden rule is important not only for each individual but also for society as a whole. As a rule, people commit those actions that they consider to be the norm in their environment. To prove that Aristotle's rule of the golden mean defines virtue, we can take the example of friendliness. A person who treats everyone kindly, without seeking benefit or malice, can be called a virtue. Such people do not abuse friendliness, which helps them to make a good impression of themselves and make the interlocutor feel good. In society, such virtues are valued because the concept of friendliness is perceived by everyone roughly the same, and it cannot be interpreted in any other way. The golden mean rule may not define virtue. For example, each person perceives masculinity differently. For some, dealing with a stranger's abuser may be perceived as overly heroic since the situation is unclear, and why help strangers? For others, however, this action is a way to help those around them who are unable to stand up for themselves. For others, a manifestation of masculinity is a way to please those around them, and they do these or other actions only for their benefit. Thus, true virtue cannot be defined by judging from one rule alone. Situations are different, and people perceive them from their perspective. For some, the middle is excess, for others, and vice versa. Acts can be good and bad simultaneously because they can simultaneously cultivate one virtue and infringe on another. Therein lies the chief difficulty in the choice between the two virtues. If you want to find more works like this essay on application of Aristotle's golden mean, head over to ivypanda.com. It has a collection of free samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects. No registration required to access it.